Early in the morning at 5 o'clock, I was shoveling snow in the driveway before work. When I went into the kitchen to warm up, I saw that my wife's phone was lying unlocked. A message popped up on the screen: he's out there shoveling snow like a fool. If he's lucky, he'll get a heart attack and we won't have to get divorced. Her lover responded with laughing emoticons. I said nothing, finished shoveling the snow and left for work. Yesterday, she regretted her words. There are moments that split your life into a before and after. I had mine on a Wednesday morning in the dead of winter, February 17th. It was minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill, dark as a coal mine at 5 a.m. and another 8 inches of snow had dumped itself on our driveway overnight. Typical Midwest winter. I still set my alarm for 4:45 a.m. even though there was a blizzard warning. 15 years working maintenance at the plant taught me, you show up. No excuses. Snow, rain, broken bones, doesn't matter. You clock in. Samantha was still asleep when I slid out of bed. 8 years of marriage and not once had she offered to help shovel. Not once did she say, hey Jake, maybe stay in bed this time. It was just expected. I'd have the driveway cleared by the time she needed to leave for work at 8:30. That was our unspoken agreement. I didn't even mind. Not really. My dad raised me to believe that a man takes care of his home and his family. That's just what you do. Or at least, that's what I thought. Layered up in thermals and gloves, I pushed open the side door and stepped into a world that felt like it didn't want humans in it. The cold slapped me in the face immediately, the kind of cold that steals your breath and makes your lungs burn. I started shoveling, slow and steady, carving a path through the knee-deep snow. The only sounds were the scrape of metal on concrete and my own breathing, clouds of steam rising into the weak light from the garage. Halfway through, my fingers started to go numb despite the gloves. I stomped my boots on the welcome mat and decided to duck into the kitchen for a minute to warm up. That's when I saw it. Samantha's phone was sitting on the counter, screen still lit. She must have come down for water earlier and left it unlocked. No big deal, she always left her phone lying around. But this time, a message popped up. And my name was in it. I didn't mean to look. I really didn't. But when you see your own name, your brain doesn't ask for permission, it just zooms in. The message was from someone saved as RP. It said, "Is he out there freezing like an idiot?" And Samantha's reply hit me harder than the cold outside. Yep. If we're lucky, he'll have a heart attack and save us the trouble. 3 laughing emojis followed. 3. They were joking about me dying out there in the snow. Like it would be a convenient solution to her problems. I stood there, staring at the screen, feeling like the floor had disappeared underneath me. My hands went cold. My mouth went dry. My heart wasn't pounding, it felt like it had stopped altogether. It's strange how betrayal feels physical. Like someone driving an ice pick through your ribs. There was this hollow buzzing in my ears and for a moment I just froze. Then, like a robot, I put the phone back exactly how I found it, pulled my gloves back on, and went outside. I finished the driveway. Every shovel of snow was a small, stubborn refusal to die. I refused to give her the satisfaction. When I got to work, I clocked in, but everything felt distant. Muted. I smiled when coworkers joked around. I moved my hands when tasks demanded it. But in my head, all I could hear was her voice. If we're lucky, he'll have a heart attack. 8 years of marriage and she was laughing with another man about my death. When I came home that night, Samantha was already in the kitchen, chatting about her day like nothing had happened. She thanked me for clearing the driveway so early. Kissed me on the cheek. I smiled back. Asked her about work. Made a few jokes. On the outside, I looked the same. On the inside, I was crumbling. Later that evening, while she was in the shower, I tried checking her phone again. New password. Of course. I lay in bed that night, staring up at the ceiling, listening to the old fan click with each rotation, feeling like a stranger in my own life. How long had she been wishing me gone? How could someone lie next to you every night and secretly hope you wouldn't wake up? I didn't have any answers. But I knew one thing: if I confronted her now, I'd lose. I needed a plan. I needed proof. The next morning, before my alarm even had a chance to buzz, I was already awake. I reached for my phone, opened our joint bank account, and started scrolling. Nothing obvious. No big withdrawals. But then I noticed something. Samantha's full paychecks hadn't been deposited in months. She was quietly funneling money elsewhere. Building her exit plan. I called in sick, something I hadn't done in over 2 years, and waited until Samantha left for work. Then I started searching. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for at first. Just something. Anything. Drawers, closets, coat pockets. It wasn't until I checked the inside pocket of her winter coat, the one she almost never wore, that I found it. A crumpled hotel receipt. Downtown Marriott. Dated 2 weeks ago. Room service for two. When she was supposedly away for a work training. I stood there, holding that little slip of paper, feeling the final piece click into place. It was real. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. Samantha wasn't just planning to leave me. She was actively, gleefully plotting my death with another man. I took a photo of the receipt with my phone, saved it to a hidden folder. Evidence. Proof. Because if Samantha thought I was going to make it easy for her, she was dead wrong. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next few days were a blur. I moved through the motions like a ghost in my own life. Waking up, going to work, answering Samantha's casual questions, eating dinner across from her like everything was fine. Inside, though, something had changed. I was no longer the clueless husband shoveling snow at dawn while his wife wished he'd keel over. I was a man with a mission. First step? I needed backup. Someone outside my own head who could confirm I wasn't losing my mind. I called Kyle. We'd been friends since middle school, the kind of friendship that survives teenage stupidity, college screw-ups, first divorces. When he answered, his voice was still hoarse from sleep. Jake? Dude, it's 6:30. What's up? I need you to come over. I think Samantha's cheating. Worse than that, actually. I'll explain. He was at my kitchen table 20 minutes later, coffee in one hand, a bag of donuts in the other. I didn't waste time. I laid it all out. The text messages, the new password on her phone, the hotel receipt tucked in her coat. Kyle listened without interrupting, just nodding along with that grim look he gets when he's processing something ugly. When I finished, he set down his coffee and said, "All right, first thing. You can't let her know, you know. Not yet. You need to get your ducks in a row before she tries to screw you over." Kyle had been through a nasty divorce himself a few years back. He knew the game. You need a lawyer. You need a separate bank account. And you need to start gathering evidence. Quietly. Felt overwhelming. I wasn't some master manipulator. I fixed broken machines for a living. I didn't know the first thing about covert operations. But Kyle did. We spent that Saturday afternoon setting up my new financial safety net. First, we opened a private checking account under just my name at a different bank. Then, we moved half the money from our joint savings, the account Samantha had mostly stopped contributing to, into the new one. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying someone, which was ironic, considering. After that, we started digging into the tech side. Kyle, being a bit of a computer nerd, knew how to access our shared cell phone account online. With a few keystrokes, we pulled up Samantha's call and text logs. My stomach dropped. In the past month alone, she and Ryan Peterson, now I had a full name to go with the initials, had exchanged over 2,000 texts. Hundreds of phone calls, mostly during her lunch breaks, or late at night when I was either sleeping or working overtime. Kyle scrolled back further. 6 months. 6 months of regular contact. It fits the timeline, Kyle said grimly. Starts casual. Escalates. She's deep in it, man. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. 6 months. Half a year. While I was planning our kitchen renovation, saving money, fixing the leaky roof, she was planning a new life without me. That night, while Samantha was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone with that little secret smile on her face, I watched her carefully. The way she kept her screen tilted away from me. The way she'd step outside to take certain calls. The way she'd laugh quietly to herself, thinking I didn't notice. Every behavior I used to excuse suddenly screamed at me. I played along. Asked her if she wanted to plan a summer trip together. Maybe take a week off. Rent a cabin by the lake. She barely looked up. Summer's crazy at work. Maybe in the fall. Fall. She didn't plan to be with me by fall. The thought made me grip my beer bottle so tight my fingers went numb. Over the next few days, I started documenting everything. Every suspicious behavior. Every lie about working late. Every fake smile. I took photos of receipts, logged call times, saved screenshots. If she wanted a war, I was going to make sure I had an arsenal ready. Then came the second phase. Quietly moving my life out of the house. While Samantha was at work, I started boxing up the important stuff. family heirlooms, my dad's old watch, my birth certificate, anything irreplaceable. I rented a small storage unit across town under Kyle's name. Every day I moved a little more out. Nothing big enough for Samantha to notice right away. Just slow erosion. One photo missing from a shelf. One drawer a little emptier. It made me feel sick. I hated the sneaking around. But what choice did I have? The worst part was pretending. Pretending to be the same husband she'd abandoned months ago. Pretending not to notice when she made up flimsy excuses for being gone until midnight. Pretending to be too dumb, too trusting to know she was spending the night with Ryan Peterson. Every dinner was an act. Every smile a performance. The pressure built up inside me like steam in a sealed pipe. I had to let it out somehow. And that's when I decided I needed to know exactly who I was up against. I didn't want to just imagine Ryan Peterson as some faceless threat. I wanted a face, a name, a life I could understand. LinkedIn made it easy. One quick search of Samantha's coworkers, and there he was, Ryan Peterson, senior financial manager at her firm. Married, 2 kids. Silver hair, perfect teeth, the kind of guy who probably ordered $6 lattes and ran marathons on weekends. I stared at his profile photo for a long time. This was the man my wife was throwing away our life for. This was the man she laughed with about my death. The anger burned hot in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. Revenge is best served cold, after all. I wasn't going to confront Samantha. Not yet. No, if I played this right, she'd never see it coming. Tomorrow I was going to meet with a lawyer. Start the paperwork. Get everything ready. Because Samantha thought she was planning her exit. She had no idea I was already halfway out the door. And when the time came, I wasn't going to just walk away quietly. I was going to take everything with me. The house, the car, the dignity she thought I'd never notice slipping through her fingers. And I would leave her standing in the ruins, wondering how it all fell apart so fast. After meeting with the lawyer, everything moved faster than I thought it would. The consultation was cold, clinical, but necessary. Miss Bennett, my lawyer, was probably in her late 50s with short silver hair and those reading glasses on a chain you only ever see on serious people. She wasn't there to coddle me. She laid it all out, how property division would work, what proof would matter in court, how the timeline would unfold. You've already done more prep work than most clients who walk in here, she said, flipping through the evidence I collected. Keep documenting. Stay calm. And whatever you do, don't tip your hand until the right moment. It was strange sitting there, talking about the logistics of ending my marriage like it was just another transaction. Like Samantha was just another account to close. When I got home that evening, she was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through her phone, probably texting Ryan. She barely looked up when I walked in. Rough day? She asked absently, thumb still tapping away. I shrugged. Same as always. The lies tasted bitter in my mouth, but I swallowed them anyway. The next few days were a carefully orchestrated performance. I adjusted my work schedule, told Samantha that due to staffing shortages, my shift times were changing. In reality, I was using the free hours to meet with Ms. Bennett, finish moving my valuables to storage, and set up new banking arrangements. I even rented a tiny, cheap motel room across town, not to stay there, but to have a neutral location to meet with Kyle, store backup documents, anything that needed to be off-site from the house. Meanwhile, Samantha went about her life completely unaware. Every now and then, she would suggest we have a date night. Probably to keep up appearances, maybe even to soothe her own guilt. I agreed every time, smiling like nothing was wrong, playing the perfect husband while she flirted through text messages with another man under the table. Each fake smile cost me something. Each lie I told wore me down a little more. But the goal was worth it. I wasn't just leaving. I was going to make sure Samantha understood exactly what it felt like to watch everything she counted on slip through her fingers. One Saturday, when Samantha thought I was working a double shift, I sat outside Ryan Peterson's favorite coffee shop. It wasn't hard to find. A little digging online, some casual questions about Samantha's office habits, and there it was, a trendy little spot where he grabbed his $7 lattes before heading to work. I waited in my truck, sipping terrible gas station coffee until I saw him. Ryan Peterson in the flesh. He looked exactly like his profile picture, silver hair, designer jacket, that confident stride of someone who thought the world owed him a favor. I followed him inside. Waited until he ordered. and then casually sat down across from him at a small table by the window. "Hi," I said, smiling tightly. "I'm Jake, Samantha's husband." The look on his face was worth every sleepless night. His hand froze mid-reach for his coffee. He stammered something I didn't even care what. I leaned in slightly. "Relax. I'm not here to make a scene. I just wanted you to know I know everything." I slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, phone records, copies of hotel receipts, a sample of the arsenal I'd built. "You might want to start making other plans," I said quietly. "Because when this all comes out, and it will, it's going to be messy." Ryan's face turned pale. He glanced around like someone might swoop in and save him. No one did. "I don't want anything from you," I added, standing up. "Except distance. From me. From her." He nodded almost frantically. "Good." As I walked back to my truck, a strange sense of calm settled over me. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. After that meeting, everything started to shift. Ryan must have pulled back immediately because Samantha's behavior changed almost overnight. She became jittery, constantly checking her phone, frowning when messages went unanswered. She started drinking more wine at night. Started asking me strange questions. "Are you mad at me? Is everything okay between us?" I smiled and lied every time. "Just work stress," I said. "We're fine." Inside, I was counting down the days. Meanwhile, I quietly began planting seeds among our mutual friends. At gatherings, I'd casually mention how busy Samantha had been with late work nights. How she seemed so stressed and distant. Nothing accusatory, just enough to plant a little doubt. People started noticing. One evening, my sister Megan stopped by, claiming she was dropping off some books I'd lent her. In reality, she wanted to check on me. Samantha seemed tense the whole time Megan was there. She laughed too loudly, fidgeted with her wine glass. Megan watched her with those sharp eyes she's always had. Didn't say much. But later, after Samantha went upstairs, Megan cornered me in the kitchen. "You know I love you, right?" she said quietly. I nodded. "Then please be careful. Something about her, it's not right." I smiled. I knew. Oh, I knew. The little cracks in Samantha's perfect life grew wider by the day. One morning, she tried using our shared credit card at the grocery store and it got declined. Guess she didn't know I'd removed her as an authorized user. Later, she texted me angrily about it. I apologized sweetly. Blamed it on bank error. Told her I'd look into it. Another tiny crack. Another splinter in the foundation she thought was rock solid. And then there were the Netflix passwords, the missing household cash, the sudden inability to access certain accounts. Tiny inconveniences. Little reminders that her world was quietly, systematically unraveling. And she had no idea why. It wasn't easy living like that. Pretending. Some nights, lying next to her, I would feel a wave of rage so strong I had to grip the sheets just to keep from shaking. Other nights, it was sadness. Sadness for the man I used to be. The man who believed in her. But every morning when I woke up and remembered why I was doing it, it gave me the strength to keep going. Because Samantha had made her choices. Now it was my turn. And when I finally made my move, it wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be a screaming match. It would be quiet. Precise. Unstoppable. The way a blizzard starts with just a few drifting flakes. Until suddenly everything is buried. It had been over a month since I found those texts on Samantha's phone, and every day since had been a slow, calculated game of chess. While she thought I was stressed from work or distracted, I was quietly building the case that would end our marriage on my terms, not hers. Now everything was ready. The lawyer had the divorce papers drawn up. The financial moves were complete. The evidence was airtight. I had transferred every important document, every irreplaceable photo, every piece of my life worth keeping into safe hands. All that was left was the execution. The final push came sooner than I expected. One morning, while Samantha was still asleep, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Megan. "Check your email. It's important." I slipped out of bed and opened my laptop in the living room. There it was, screenshots from Samantha's company email forwarded anonymously to Megan by a mutual acquaintance. Apparently, the HR department was starting an investigation into Samantha and Ryan's undisclosed relationship. Someone, probably Ryan's angry soon-to-be ex-wife, had tipped them off. And corporate didn't look kindly on senior staff sleeping with subordinates without disclosure. The timing couldn't have been better. It was like watching a domino line start to fall, slow and inevitable. I smiled to myself and closed the laptop. It was time. That night, I set the living room up like a courtroom. On the coffee table, a thick binder of evidence. I printed timeline of the affair. copies of financial transactions, screenshots of texts and call logs, a manila envelope with the divorce papers inside. I sat in my chair by the window waiting. When Samantha came home around 7:30 p.m., she looked tired, stressed, and immediately checked her phone as she walked through the door. Still waiting for a message from Ryan, probably. Still thinking her world was intact. She didn't even notice the setup at first. She dropped her purse by the door, kicked off her heels, and mumbled something about grabbing takeout since she was too exhausted to cook. Then she saw it. The binder. The papers. Me sitting there silently. She froze. I watched the blood drain from her face. What is all this?" she asked, her voice cracking slightly. I didn't answer immediately. Just leaned forward and flipped open the binder, revealing the first page, the screenshot of her message about hoping I had a heart attack. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened and closed, searching for words. At first, she laughed this high, nervous laugh that sounded nothing like her real one. "Jake, you're misunderstanding. It was a joke. A stupid joke between friends." I flipped to the next page, the hotel receipt, the dozens of call logs, the bank account summaries. Her laughter died. Then came the anger. "How do you go through my private things? That's illegal, Jake. You're crazy." I stayed silent. Calm. Patient. Let her rant. She cycled through every stage of grief in a matter of minutes: denial, anger, bargaining. "I didn't mean it. Ryan doesn't matter. I was lonely. You were always working." I slid the divorce papers across the coffee table. "You can sign now or later," I said simply. "But this is happening." Her hands shook as she picked up the papers. She skimmed through the first few pages and realized just how thorough I'd been. Her face crumbled. "You're ruining my life," she whispered. "No," I said, my voice steady. "You did that all by yourself." She started crying then, loud, gasping sobs that once would have broken me. Now they just sounded hollow. Empty. I stood up, grabbed my overnight bag, already packed and ready, and headed for the door. As I opened it, I turned back one last time. "I hope someday you figure out why you destroy everything good in your life," I said. "But it won't be with me." And then I walked out into the cold night. The days that followed were surreal. Samantha tried every trick in the book. Tearful voicemails. Apology letters left taped to my truck windshield. Long, rambling texts about how she was working on herself and learning from her mistakes. I ignored them all. Kyle let me crash at his place until I got everything sorted. Megan checked in daily, making sure I was eating, sleeping, staying sane. Word spread fast among our friends. Most took my side once they learned the basics. A few mutual acquaintances who clearly didn't know the full story stayed neutral or made vague posts about relationships being complicated. Let them think what they want. I had the truth. That was enough. Samantha, meanwhile, was drowning. The HR investigation at her work didn't go well. She was put on unpaid leave pending the outcome, and from what I heard later, Ryan threw her under the bus to save himself. Classic. Without her income, she couldn't afford the mortgage on the house that was, luckily, in my name alone. She moved out within a month, leaving behind a few broken dishes, a torn-up sofa, and a mountain of unpaid bills. Ryan? He moved out of his family home too, forced into a cramped apartment while his wife shredded him in court. Small, bitter victories, but satisfying all the same. 6 months later, my life looks different. Better. I'm back in my house now, but it feels cleaner somehow. New paint on the walls. New furniture. New memories. Kyle and I still grab beers every Thursday, and Megan still pesters me about getting back out there. Dating is a distant thought, something I'll consider when I'm ready. For now, I'm just enjoying the quiet. Enjoying waking up in a house where I'm not resented. Where no one's secretly wishing I'd die in a snowstorm. Samantha still tries to reach out sometimes. Birthday texts. Christmas cards. Just thinking of you messages. I never reply. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some fires you let burn all the way to ash. And honestly, it feels good. It feels real. It feels free.